Hey guys, I'm Mike, and I'm Mike the Sports Guy, and welcome to the Mike the Sports Guy channel on YouTube. And thank you for joining me on this really early Thursday morning at this point on the East Coast. It's still Wednesday night on the West Coast, so figured to talk a little bit of sports and just get my opinion out there and having some fun with this. I mean, this is totally different for me, just voicing whatever I got and let's just have some fun. I mean, that's all this is about, right? So, um, I'm a big sports fan. A little bit about me. I'm coming from Long Island. You hear the accent. Ah, and yeah, let's just talk some sports. That's really what it comes down to. And baseball, hockey, football, all ears for that. And we're gonna talk tonight. We're gonna start with some, as you can tell, if you look at my nice, beautiful Super Bowl 42 winning New York Football Giants Eli Manning jersey, and we'll start with the NFL because the NFL came out tonight with their 18-week, 17-game schedule. Yes, you heard right. That is 17 games this year and 18 weeks full of good football. Let's see how that long that lasts. Let's see how the players like that this year. However, lots to sift through, a lot of stuff to go through. We're going to go week by week. We're also going to highlight the differences. We'll do that first. We'll highlight the differences as the schedule this year compared to last year and the years prior, and go through some win total odds I got from DraftKings. I went through a little bit of that. Best bets for division championships, conference championships, and Super Bowl champions as well, because, hey, we got to start somewhere, right? So, excuse me. So, without further ado, let's get going on this first video for the Mike the Sports Guy channel. And we are going to start with the NFL schedule for 2021. So, there is a lot of differences compared to last year. Going through it all. Some quick info. Yes, the first 17-game season ever. There's still only one bye right now. We'll see how long that lasts, as I wrote that in there. Just because I think the Players Association for the NFL is going to be like, all right, you know what? Let's get to 2 bye weeks. I think that would be better. In a general sense, we'll see teams get worn down really quickly this year. The bye weeks are a little bit later on this year, and they end a little bit earlier on as well. But in the grand scheme of it all, that's more football, more money for the owners. They love that. So, we'll see how, like I said, we'll see how long that one bye week still exists for every team going into next year. The second note is possible international games. Right now, we got 2 scheduled right now. If COVID allows it, we'll see what happens. But like I said, we got to start somewhere. It's good to see that on the schedule, though. I want to see, the NFL go elsewhere other than England. I mean, it's at least where we're starting right now. We'll see if they try. They were talking about going to Germany at least for a game. Don't know if that's going to be a thing, not this year, but the next year. So let's see how that plays out. And then we got preseason starting with the Hall of Fame game in Canton in August. It's Dallas and Pittsburgh, same one as last year. Only 3 weeks of preseason this year. There's not a 4th one. You don't really need 4 weeks of preseason. I honestly think we don't even need preseason at all, but that's just me. So we'll just go with that. Start of the regular season starts on the 9th of September. That's always a week after Labor Day. That's not changing. Postseason beginning a week later than it would be, so that's a week after New Year's week. So that's Wild Card Weekend starting on the 15th of January. And the Pro Bowl pushed back a week to the 6th of February, where the Super Bowl used to be. And then the Super Bowl moving back another week to the 13th of February. That's at Sophie Stadium in LA. Get that right. That's where the Chargers and the Rams play. The structure for who meets up hasn't changed for the most part. You're still going to have your 6 interdivision game. That's 1 home, 1 on the road. So that's 3 per opponent. You get to play 4 in another division with the same conference, and you still get to play 4 in another conference with the same division. The remaining 2 games on the schedule, though, involves the 2 teams that finish in the same position in the other divisions within their conference. So, and I'll explain that a little bit more precise in just a bit. So, this season, who's facing who, your general sense. So, this is how the schedule was built up before. The AFC East is going to be playing the NFC South and the AFC South. AFC North is playing the NFC North and the AFC West. The AFC South is playing the NFC West and the AFC East. The AFC West is playing the NFC East and the AFC North. In the NFC East is playing the AFC West and the NFC South. The NFC North is playing the AFC North and the NFC West. The NFC South is playing the AFC East and the NFC East. That doesn't sound too bad. That's a pretty good schedule. And then the NFC West is playing the AFC South and the AFC North. So we'll go through it week by week as the schedule goes on. You'll definitely see the trends. This is the same thing that you normally see in a regular schedule for the NFL in a regular 16-game season. Just the extra game is now essentially this interconference-based standing. That's how that would be played. So the 17th game is on a rotational basis. So, if you finish first in the AFC East, you're playing the first place team in the NFC East. That's not a bad trade-off. Same with the West. It's for the AFC West, it's for the NFC North. For the NFC West, the AFC North. And for the AFC South, the NFC South. So the home game will be all AFC teams. The NFC will get that the next year. So if you could follow me, good luck. It was a little confusing the way they worded it on NFL.com when I saw it. I was like, all right, let's see how this goes. I tried to simplify it the best I could. This is the best you're getting out of me out of this. So, but you'll just kind of go with it because at the end of the day, you're still going to be seeing football games on a weekly basis, and your team will get a bye week at some point. So it's just a matter of how they're scheduling it. So it's just the little kit and caboodle for it. You know what I mean? So starting off, well, actually, timeout. So your 17th game this year. So your first place team in the NFC East was Washington. So they'll be at Buffalo. The Giants are at Miami. Dallas at New England. Philly at the Jets. And then it's the NFC West against the AFC North. So it's Seattle and Pittsburgh. The Rams at Baltimore. Arizona at Cleveland. And then 49ers at the Cincinnati Bengals. In the NFC South, New Orleans was the first place team. So they'll play the AFC South team in Tennessee, Tampa Bay and Indy, Carolina, Houston, and Atlanta and Jacksonville. And the NFC North gets to play the AFC West. So that's Green Bay and Kansas City. Some good matchups with this one, by the way. Chicago and Vegas. Was the Oakland Raiders, if you haven't followed the past year. Minnesota and the Chargers, who should be in San Diego. And Detroit and Denver. So those are your 16 matchups that you get in the 17th game for this season. And they'll come in random spots. It's not a consistent thing. They're not all in 1 week. So it's just how they're doing the scheduling for this 17th game this season. So, without further ado, we're going to start with week 1. And your first game of the season is Thursday, the 9th of September. That is an NBC game with the Dallas Cowboys in Tampa Bay. Tom Brady defending his title. So you'll have Dallas and Tampa Bay in week 1 to start the season to kick off 2021 for everybody. Your other games will be for Sunday. Jacksonville at Houston. Early Tank Bowl game? Probably, but we won't know that until the season wears on. So that's your first Sunday game, at least on that slate, for 1 p.m. That's a CBS game. The Chargers are in Washington, also a CBS game. Seattle at Indianapolis. That's a game I'm actually looking to watch because that game is actually going to probably be a lot of fun. Russell Wilson going to play with a chip on his shoulder if he's still with the team. Seattle. But Indianapolis getting their new quarterback. That should be a lot of fun to watch that game. And then you also have the Jets at Carolina, the Sam Darnold. What did I write? I wrote this revenge tour. So it'll be a fun game to watch against the new rookie, Zach Wilson, from BYU. So let's see how that plays out for the Jets. I hope they do better this year. I mean, it was a rough year last year for them. So the rest of the week goes as follows. Minnesota at Cincinnati. That's a 1 o'clock game on Fox. The Cardinals are in Tennessee. That's a 1 o'clock game in CBS. San Francisco at Detroit. You also have the Pittsburgh Steelers at Buffalo Bills, and that's going to be a one to watch. That's going to suck the fact that I can't watch that game because the Jets get coverage on CBS in this area, and you don't get to see the Bills beat up on the Steelers, but that's okay. The Eagles are in Atlanta. That's a 1 o'clock game on Fox on that Sunday. Cleveland at Kansas City starts the 4 o'clock games. That's going to be a great game. That's a rematch of the divisional round last year where Mahomes got hurt and then Cleveland got beat up by a backup quarterback. Green Bay is at New Orleans. That's an interesting game because New Orleans doesn't have Drew Brees. I wonder how New Orleans is going to be. And I also wonder if Green Bay is even going to have Aaron Rodgers. I mean, we're talking, today is the 13th of May as I'm recording this video at 12:15 a.m. and Rodgers is still a Packer, so we're going to assume that right now. So that makes this an interesting game for right now as of today. We'll see what happens by the time the 12th of September hits. That's a while from here. Your other game on Fox at the 4:25 slot is the Denver Broncos at the Giants. Now, it's an interesting one to note because this is the 20th anniversary of 9/11 coming up. So I kind of like what the NFL did here, and it's weird how the schedule kind of worked out that the Broncos would be playing the Giants. But those two teams were playing each other 20 years ago to the day before 9/11, back in 2001. The Giants were in Denver, so I thought this was nice to see. I think they did that. I don't know if they did that on purpose or it was just by accident, but I think it works out. I think that's it's a nice thing to see, and I hope you get to see the Giants in their red home jerseys. Those are nice jerseys. That would be something different. I know it's a Veterans Day thing, but I think that or do your old school red, white, and blue. I mean, that would be a great uniform combo to see on opening night at MetLife. The day after 9/11. That's going to be a special night at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford. So, got one other 4:25 game. That's the Dolphins at the Patriots. And I wonder how this one's going to go. You got a brand new quarterback for New England. Miami's coming off a really good season. We'll see if the Dolphins can really keep the momentum going this year. I'm really hoping they get to going this year and actually make the playoffs. I would like to see them get in. They would be a fun team to watch. So those are your 4:25 games: Cleveland, Kansas City, Green Bay, New Orleans, Denver, and the Giants, and Miami and New England for Sunday the 12th. And then your Sunday night game is the Chicago Bears at the Los Angeles Rams. And it's funny because Chicago, you think that you would be able to get away from having to play Matt Stafford, and well, hey, here you go. Sunday night right off the bat. Brand new quarterback from Justin Fields. Really big challenge right out the first week of the season. That game's on NBC, as it always is, on a Sunday night at 8:20 p.m. And then your Monday night game is the Baltimore Ravens at the Las Vegas Raiders. Second year in Vegas. This will be their official home opener. I expect that place to be rocking. So that's Monday on the 13th. That's an ESPN game. Note there's only one Monday night game this year on ESPN, too. There's not two like there has been in the past, which is kind of nice if you ask me, considering the broadcast pairs that they have in ESPN. So that's week one. Now week two, you have the Giants and the I already did it. And the Washington football team starting on Thursday the 16th. So it's a short week for both those teams. That's an 8:20 game on NFL Network. Your second game for the week, in chronological order that the NFL had it on their scheduling. The Patriots and the Jets. That's a 1 o'clock game on CBS. I'll definitely be watching that on that Sunday, the 19th. Denver will be at Jacksonville. Buffalo and Miami, the first time those two will be meeting. That's a Fox game, believe it or not. Surprised by that. The 49ers are at the Eagles. The Rams are in Indianapolis. That's another great matchup between those two teams. See if Carson Wentz can go 2 for 2, possibly. I really hope he gets a great chance in Indianapolis. I've always had a soft spot for Indy since Peyton was there. Marvin Harrison, all those guys. What a team that was. And only coming out with one championship is a bummer. But anyway, I want to see what Carson Wentz can do. I really hope he gets a really legitimate shot at really winning over the fans in Indianapolis and they finally get their quarterback for the long term. So another 1 o'clock game will be the Raiders at the Steelers. Old school matchup. That should be a fun one to watch. Cincy at Chicago. Houston at Cleveland. New Orleans at Carolina. And then your 4 o'clock games are Minnesota at Arizona. Atlanta at Tampa Bay. Tennessee and Seattle. That's going to be probably the national game, I would think. But they're probably going to replace it with Dallas and LA, and that's always a bummer because I think Tennessee and Seattle, I think Tannehill, Russell Wilson, that'll be a fun matchup to watch on a 4:25 game. Your Sunday night game for week 2 is Kansas City at Baltimore, where Baltimore's been, let's just put it this way. They're 0-3 against Kansas City, against Mahomes. But it's also going to be the return of Orlando Brown, the tackle who got traded to Kansas City. So let's see how that plays out. That's a Sunday night game for week 2. A great game for week 2. That should be a fun shootout on NBC. And then your Monday night games, Detroit and Green Bay. That could be a doozy of a matchup if Rodgers isn't there. I really hope Rodgers stays in Green Bay. I think it's just a whole bunch of hullabaloo. That's your Monday night game for week 2. So week 3, it's Carolina-Houston for your Thursday night game. Yeah, that's a great game for Thursday night, right? Indianapolis-Tennessee starts the 1 o'clock games on Sunday, the 26th, which is a great matchup to start. The Falcons are at the Giants. My humble opinion, the Giants should win that game. That's a Fox game at 1 o'clock. The Chargers are in Kansas City, first game for those two against each other. That should be an interesting one. I want to see how the Chargers do this year. I want to see how they match up well against the rest of the division. I don't see them being a last place team. They could fight for second. I think Denver's really going to make a push in there, depending on who their quarterback is. We'll see what happens. I know Teddy Bridgewater is now in Denver, so let's see how that plays out. Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, always a bloodbath when those two play. It's a shame that I won't be able to get to watch that game. Chicago's at Cleveland. That should also be a pretty decent game. Be interesting to see how Justin Fields does against the Browns. Baltimore at Detroit is also a 1 o'clock game. That's a CBS game. Week 3 on the 26th of September. New Orleans at New England. Arizona is at Jacksonville. Washington's at Buffalo. That should be a good game. It's a very good defensive game right there. And in your 4 o'clock games, the Jets are at Denver. Miami's at Las Vegas. Seattle at Minnesota is your 4:25 game at Fox. And in Tampa Bay at the Rams. I think that one, out of the 2 games, the Tampa Bay game will probably be the national game. Not just because it's Brady, but it's Brady against Stafford. That should be a fun game. If they make that the national game, I'd be very happy with that. Your Sunday night game is Green Bay at San Francisco. We'll see how that one plays out. That's an interesting one. That's more of a kind of like a classic matchup. I mean, we'll see how these two teams look by the time we hit the regular season. Green Bay could be completely different. So could San Fran. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo should be back this year. And I hope he gets a chance to stay healthy. I mean, he's a heck of a quarterback. San Francisco got derailed last year. So many injuries. And then your Monday night game for week 3 is the always fun NFC East divisional rivalry between the Philadelphia Eagles and Dallas Cowboys. An 8:15 game on ESPN on the 27th of September. Week 4 goes like this. Jacksonville and Cincinnati. Yeah, that's another great Thursday night game. That's on September 30th. That will be at 8:20 on NFL Network. Your 1 p.m. games for week 4 on Sunday are the Tennessee Titans and New York Jets. I'm actually intrigued by that one. You see, I get a little bit lazy here. Kansas City at Philly looks to be interesting. Carolina at Dallas. The Giants are in New Orleans. Cleveland at Minnesota. Detroit at Chicago. Houston is at Buffalo. That should be an easy win for Buffalo if I ever saw one. Indianapolis is at Miami. That might be my 1 o'clock game of the week for that slot coming through, because that I think out of all these teams that are playing at 1 o'clock, I think that's the most contested matchup between the two. Like I said, I think Indianapolis has a good, decent shot this year. They have a really good shot. They have let's see how Carson Wentz does. I think that's what it comes down to. Your 4 o'clock, Washington and Atlanta is also the other 1 o'clock game within that slot on week 4. Your 4 o'clock games are Seattle and San Francisco. That's a 4 o'clock game on Fox. Arizona's at the Rams. Pittsburgh and Green Bay is your 4:25 game. Dallas and Baltimore and Denver. I don't know why I thought Dallas. I saw the AL, that's why. Baltimore and Denver is your 4:25 game on CBS as well. If I had a preference out of those 4 games, maybe Seattle and San Francisco might be the game that I would want to see as a divisional game. Note the 2 NFC West matchups at the 4:05 slot too. I don't know, that Pittsburgh Green Bay one, I feel like they jumped the gun maybe a little bit on scheduling that one at 4:25. I really would like to see Seattle and San Francisco. Maybe they'll have that game on locally. Sometimes, usually the 4 or 5 games they don't when the Giant game's on earlier on here in New York. So your Sunday night game is Tampa Bay and New England. Tom Brady returns to Foxborough, and let's see how he does against the new quarterback in New England and Mac Jones. And then the Raiders are in LA against the Chargers. That's a Monday night game. That's at 8:15 on ESPN on the 4th of October. So that ends week 4. So week 5 goes as follows. Your Thursday night game is a much better game. The Rams are at Seattle. It's probably because Fox has a game. That's probably why. I think that has a lot to do with it. So that's your Thursday night game for week 5. And then your Sunday games. Yes, you see it? Yeah, I'm pointing at it. You see the Astros. That's your London games. The Jets at the Falcons. It's Sunday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. That makes it 6:30 a.m. Pacific. Oh, it's going to be a long day for you guys out on the West Coast. Even us on the East Coast, because, well, I mean, not for me. I'm not a Jet fan, but you're going to be watching. I'm going to be watching. We're all going to be watching, aren't we? That's what we do on Sunday. So your 1 o'clock games for week 5. Detroit's at Minnesota. That's your 1 o'clock on Fox. Saints are at the football team. 1 o'clock on CBS. New England at Houston. Miami at Tampa Bay. The Battle of Florida begins. Well, there's 3 teams, but hey, it starts somewhere. So those 2 teams will play against each other. That's a 1 o'clock game on CBS. The Packers are in Cincinnati. Denver's at Pittsburgh. That could be a very interesting game in the retrospect to see how Pittsburgh holds up this year, especially with Big Ben. I want to see if Big Ben can hold his own. He didn't look very good last year. That Denver defense looks stacked coming into this year. I think that's going to do a lot for them. Philly and Carolina is another game at 1 o'clock. Tennessee at Jacksonville. That's a divisional rivalry between those two. Cleveland and the Chargers are the 4 o'clock game on CBS. Chicago and the Raiders. And then your later games, a little bit later. 4:25 is San Francisco and Arizona. And then probably most likely the national game and the one I'll definitely be watching. The Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. First time they're meeting up in Jerry Land. That's a 4:25 game on Fox. Great, we get to have Joe Buck and Troy Aikman for that game. Just what we want as Giants fans. And your Sunday night game, Buffalo and Kansas City, a rematch of the AFC Championship game from last year. Listen, I think this is going to be a great game. I think Buffalo is going to look better than they did last year. And that's hard to say because Buffalo was pretty good, but that defense is a little last year at times. They got a lot of improvements on that secondary, so I think that will be a very, very, very good matchup between those 2 teams. And then Indianapolis and Baltimore is your Monday night game on ESPN on the 11th of October. That'll be an interesting one to watch, too. I think Baltimore will run over Indianapolis, but hey, it could be closer. See how Carson Wentz does. That's all I'm going to say about that thus far. I keep saying it. I really want to see Indianapolis do well. But Baltimore, too. I think Lamar Jackson doesn't get enough. I don't think he gets enough due for what he does. So, he's a heck of a quarterback, heck of an athlete, especially when he's got to run to the tunnel. We're not going to talk about that. All right, week 6. Tampa Bay and Philadelphia is your Thursday night game. Philly's tough because Philly, it's like they're in the middle of a transition stage right now. They got a lot of talent on that offensive side. Their defense is it's the quarterbacking what it comes down to. Can their quarterbacking hold them up? I don't know. I really don't know. And Tampa Bay is going to be way too good. I think that's going to be a very big blowout for the Bucs against Philly in Philly. But you never know on a Thursday night. Anything can happen on a short week. So, but that's my thinking on that. We also get another asterisk. We get another London game this next week after. Miami's at Jacksonville. That's also at Tottenham Hotspur on the 17th. And if you ever know what the 17th of October is, just look up Grand Slam single and Robin Ventura, and that's all you need to know. That'll be a 9:30 game on CBS in the East Coast. Your 1 o'clock games on the East Coast, Kansas City and Washington. That should be a good game. I think that'll be a very good defensive game for the football team. So that's your CBS game right off the bat. The Fox game, at least here, will be the Rams and the Giants. So I don't know how to feel about that one. I feel like the Giants defense is still holding on their own. It's their offense I really need to think they got to really get somewhere with this year. This is a make or break season for Daniel Jones. They got to do something. They have to do it. They cannot falter this year, and they have to make strides. There's going to be major changes on this team. I mean, the coaching staff isn't bad. I like Joe Judge. He's been outstanding. It's just, is Daniel Jones the answer? That's really what it comes down to. And the Giants really need to show that he is. I think he has the potential. I like the guy. I really do. But that's me being a fan of Danny Dimes. So I know a lot of people don't like him because of the replacement of Eli Manning. But you know what? You got to give the guy a shot. I like his personality. I think he's got a great football mind. He's just got to make the plays, and the offensive line's got to help him out. But having Saquon back, that's huge. I think that's huge for the Giants this year. All right, so continuing the 1 o'clock games Eastern Time. Houston and Indianapolis. I think that might be a blowout. A lot of games for Houston are going to be blown out. Cincinnati at Detroit. That's your Whomper of the week. Green Bay and Chicago. Here's the battle between those two historic franchises for the first time at Soldier Field. 12 o'clock Central Time. That's local time for them. 1 o'clock Eastern. Won't be able to see that here, though. Chargers are in Baltimore. The Minnesota Vikings are in Carolina. That's another 1 o'clock Eastern game. And then your 4 o'clock games are 1 Pacific. The Cardinals are at the Browns. The Raiders are at Denver. That's a divisional game. And then Dallas at New England, which is probably going to be the game of the week, I would think, because it is Dallas and New England. Yeah. 8 o'clock game, your Sunday night game. Seattle and Pittsburgh. We'll see. That's an interesting game. I think Seattle will come away with the victory. Now, this is just now. I'm going to do my predictions way on the line right now. But I think Seattle playing Pittsburgh, that'll be an interesting game between those two teams. Russell Wilson, Big Ben, that never gets old. It's a shame Big Ben's getting older and he's not going to be able to play too much longer. So, but I mean, to see those two guys go at it, that's going to be fun. And then your Monday night games, Buffalo and Tennessee. I think that's a great matchup. That should be a fun Monday night game. That's on the 18th of October, and I'll be watching. I know that. I mean, I'll be watching most of these. I mean, as much as I can, but that's definitely one to watch if you're just a casual fan. I think that'll be a fun game to watch. Good football, nothing sloppy. You'll see both sides go at it. A high-powered offense for Buffalo, and Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill for Tennessee. You can't go wrong with that. And then you got a couple buys. This is where the buys start pulling in. Usually it was week 4 we had the buys before this year. Now it's week 6. So Atlanta, New Orleans, the Jets, and the 49ers are all get the first buys of the year in week 6. So week 7 is a whole bunch of different scheduling, obviously, because every week's different. Denver's at Cleveland for your Thursday night game on the 21st of October. That's an interesting game. I mean, Cleveland's looking to build off of last year. Denver's a team that might have their quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater. They have a better quarterback than they did last year, that's for sure. But Denver's defense is going to be something else. They're stacked. They look stacked. They look like they might have a shot to make a wild card in the AFC if they really pull it together. But the AFC is very strong this year compared to the NFC, so we'll see how that plays out. But that's your Thursday night game on week 7. Your 1 o'clock game starts with the Carolina Panthers at the Giants. Sam Darnold coming back to MetLife for the first time. The Jets are in New England. That should be a fun game. Jets and New England are always fun games, no matter how bad or good they are. Kansas City's at Tennessee. That's a good, interesting 1 o'clock game on CBS Eastern Time. Washington's at Green Bay. Another good game. Atlanta and Miami, that's all right. Cincinnati and Baltimore divisional games. Some good games in week 7. And then your 4 o'clock games for week 7 are Detroit at the Rams. Matt Stafford gets to play his old team for the first time, which is going to be really weird. So is Jared Goff. Jared Goff returns to LA too. Phillies in Las Vegas, Nevada. That's another 4 o'clock game. Your 4:25 games are the Houston Texans at Arizona Cardinals. Oh boy. And Chicago at Tampa Bay. Man, that's a sloppy 4:25. The week started out really good with the 1 o'clock games, and then the 4 o'clock games are just blah. That Detroit Rams game, I think, actually probably out of all 4 of these, is probably the best game out of all 4 of those. And that's being modest, because Detroit's going to be pretty bad. Indianapolis at San Francisco is your Sunday night game. That's an interesting matchup for Sunday night. I mean, Indy, Carson Wentz, San Francisco, Jimmy Garoppolo, 2 quarterbacks looking to make a name for themselves this year. Why not? New Orleans and Seattle is going to be your Monday night game. That should be an interesting one with New Orleans. I I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year. That's for sure. They're definitely going to be missing Drew Brees this year coming up. And Seattle with Russell Wilson, I think they're at home. I think that's definitely going to help them out. It's just because they matched up last year. And then your buys for this week. There's 6 teams on bye for week 7. Buffalo, Dallas, Jacksonville, Los Angeles, Chargers, Minnesota, and Pittsburgh. So you get 6 teams on a bye in week 7. Week 8 goes as follows. Your Thursday night game is Green Bay at Arizona. That'll be an interesting matchup. Kyler Murray. I hope Arizona does well. I like Kyler Murray. He's a great player. He's just got to stay healthy. I mean, with how mobile he is, he also needs some weapons, man. I mean, just give him some help. Help out Kyler Murray. He could use it. All right, Sunday, 1 o'clock games Eastern Time on Halloween. Ha ha ha. The Bengals are at the Jets. We've seen that matchup before. Boomer Esiason, I don't know who he roots for in those. I kind of feel bad for him. If the Rangers are playing, he'd probably root for them over those two anyway. The Tennessee's at Indianapolis, a divisional game, 1 o'clock on CBS. Won't be able to watch that here, though, unfortunately. That's a shame because that's going to be a good game. Rams are in Houston, 1 o'clock on Fox. Pittsburgh's at Cleveland, 1 o'clock on CBS. Also don't get to watch that here either. Philly's at Detroit. That's a Fox game at 1 o'clock. San Francisco at Chicago, 1 o'clock on Fox. Carolina at Atlanta, a divisional game. Not one of the more premier games in that division, but hey, you got to start somewhere. Miami and Buffalo, also 1 o'clock game on CBS. See, that Cincinnati Jet game kind of throws everything off because it's like you want, here in New York, you want to watch good football. And I'm not trying to discredit Jet fans for not having a good team. They could have a good year this year. And I mean, Cincinnati could too if their offensive line holds up Joe Burrow. I mean, that's going to be a fun game to watch between Joe Burrow and Zach Wilson, right? I'm not going to deny that, but looking at a matchup perspective, like seeing Miami and Buffalo in a 1 o'clock game with the same as all of these other ones, it's just, as a casual football fan, it just stabs you right in the heart because that's a game you want to watch. That's a game that's going to be fun to watch. 2 top teams in this division in the AFC East. And you get the Jets instead. I mean, like I said, local coverage is different, but when you're looking at a national scale, especially with these 4 o'clock games, New England and the Chargers, Jacksonville and Seattle, Washington and Denver, and Tampa Bay, New Orleans, this 1 o'clock game here, that game should be your 425 game. I'm sorry. I think the NFL missed a golden opportunity to get that game in a prime slot because I think a lot of people will be watching that divisional game because it's 2 great teams. Okay, 2 really good teams. One's really great. One's really good. That's going to be a great game. I'm sorry. I think the NFL dropped the ball on that one. Dallas and Minnesota is your Sunday night game. This week is rough, man. The Giants play Kansas City on Monday night. That I don't. Ooh, that's a tough game. I could see Kansas City blowing out the Giants that game too. I think the NFL missed a golden opportunity in Week 8 here. I mean, you had some great matchups here. Young quarterbacks in Cincinnati and the Jets. Tennessee and Indianapolis. That's a great game. Pittsburgh and Cleveland's always primetime football. Even if one of these 2 teams are and Miami and Buffalo. I mean, those games I would have put in your prime slots for Week 8. And I think the NFL missed a golden opportunity. Also, Baltimore and the Vegas Raiders are also on byes this week. This Week 8 schedule disappoints me. I mean, I'm trying to be modest with it. I mean, I think out of any of these games, Tampa Bay and New Orleans, I don't even think that's an intriguing matchup anymore. Because New Orleans isn't going to be that good this year. So, that's just me. All right, Week 9. I know we're running a little bit long here on time. I'm going to try and go a little bit quicker. Jets and the Colts, Week 9, Thursday night. That should be actually a fun game. I could see that. Atlanta and New Orleans starts your 1 o'clock games on Sunday, the 7th of November. It's Denver and Dallas. New England and Carolina. Should be fun. Sam Darnold against the Patriots. Oh, boy. Minnesota and Baltimore. Cleveland and Cincinnati. That's a divisional game. Buffalo at Jacksonville. Houston and Miami. The Raiders are at the Giants. Giants get the home game the Jets had last year. Remember what happened in that game when they tanked the game. The Chargers are in Eagles country. That's a 4 o'clock game on CBS. Your 4:25 game is Green Bay and Kansas City. That should be fun. That should have been the matchup for the Super Bowl last year, in my honest opinion. But, oh well, Tom Brady's the GOAT. Guess you can't do anything about that. Arizona and San Francisco is also a 4:25 game. That's on Fox, so I think that's probably going to be the national game if Green Bay's kind of eh. I mean, but Kansas City's always an intriguing matchup to watch on national TV. Tennessee and the Rams for Sunday Night Football. That should be a fun game. Your Monday night games, Chicago and Pittsburgh. So this one's a little bit better, Week 9, with the games, I think, when it comes down to national TV. So I'm happier with this one. Detroit, Seattle, Tampa Bay, and Washington get your buys for Week 9. All right, Week 10. It is Baltimore, Miami for Thursday Night Football on Veterans Day. Should be a fun game to watch between those two teams and going back and forth amongst each other. Your 1 o'clock games, the Bills and the Jets. The over-under, I'll most likely be at that game. Tampa Bay at Washington. Also 1 o'clock on Week 10. On the 14th, Atlanta and Dallas. New Orleans and Tennessee. Jacksonville and Indianapolis. Detroit and Pittsburgh. Cleveland and New England. I think that's a good game. I think that will be fun to watch. Minnesota's at the Chargers. Carolina's at Arizona. The Eagles are at Denver. And then you also have Seattle and Green Bay. Those are your 4 o'clock games. I think Seattle and Green Bay, out of those 4 is probably going to be the best one to watch. But underrated one. Minnesota and the Chargers, I think, will be an underrated matchup to watch on a 4 o'clock on a Sunday. The Sunday night game are the Raiders at home against the Chargers. The Chiefs. The Rams are at San Francisco for Monday night. That's a divisional game. That's always a fun game to watch. And then your buys for Week 10, the Bears. The Bears. The Bengals, the Texans, and the Giants. Week 11, it's New England and Atlanta for Thursday Night Football. Should be a fun one to watch. New Orleans and Philadelphia starts the Sunday 1 o'clock schedule. Dolphins are at the Jets. The football team are at Carolina. Indianapolis plays Buffalo in a rematch of the wild card game from last year. Detroit's at Cleveland. San Francisco at Jacksonville. Houston at Tennessee. Green Bay at Minnesota. Baltimore and Chicago. I think Green Bay and Minnesota is probably going to be the best out of that whole lot. Underrated pick, Miami and the Jets. I think that'll be a fun game to watch too. Cincinnati's at the Raiders at 4 o'clock. The Cardinals are at Seattle. That's the 4:25 game. So is Dallas and Kansas City. The game we're most likely going to be forced to watch instead of the Cardinals and the Seahawks, which will be better football. Pittsburgh's at the Chargers. That's the Sunday night game. That'll be interesting to watch. Giants are at Tampa Bay for Monday night. Of course, they get to play the last Super Bowl matchup within a year. So that won't be fun. And the Denver Broncos and the Rams are your buys for Week 11. Week 12, Chicago, Detroit, Thursday night afternoon Thanksgiving football at 12:30. But the rest of this week is, the Thursday games are horrible, man. And I was looking at it before, and I was thinking about it because I forgot this was Week 12. Oh, man. You got the Bears and the Lions. I mean, the Lions, I understand they always get the home game. So does Dallas, but come on. This was your matchup. And your Sunday night games, Buffalo and the wild card, whatever's going to happen with the Saints. I'm just like, whoa, man. Like, yikes. Could have done much better. Like Tampa Bay and Indianapolis. That would have been a better game. The Jets are at Houston. Man, that's going to be a doozy of a game. Eagles are at the Giants. 1 o'clock on Fox. Carolina, Miami. Tennessee, New England. Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. Atlanta and Jacksonville rounds out your 1 o'clock games Eastern time on the East Coast on Sunday. The Chargers are at Denver. The Rams are at Green Bay. Minnesota's at San Francisco. Those are your 4 o'clock games on Sunday. Your Sunday night games, Cleveland and Baltimore, which is probably better than all the Thanksgiving games. And your Monday night games, Seattle and Washington, which that'll be a good game too. Cardinals and the Chiefs get the bye week in Week 12. I'm just so disappointed by that schedule, man. That's just rough. Week 13. Dallas and New Orleans starts the Thursday night tilt. That's either going to be a one-sided Dallas win or a complete snooze fest on Thursday night on the first game in December. So just throwing that out there. Giants play Miami. I think that's an underrated good game. I think that'll be a very good game because Miami's got that offense and the Giants got that defense. I think that'll match up really well. That could be a make or break game for the Giants at that point of the season. So we'll see what happens. That's a 1:00 game on Sunday. And the other 1:00 games are Indianapolis and Houston, Minnesota, Detroit. The Eagles are at the Jets. Denver's at Kansas City. That's a 12:00 local game. Arizona's at Chicago. The Chargers are in Cincinnati. Tampa Bay's at Atlanta. Washington and the Raiders are the 4:00 set, as well as Jacksonville and the Rams. Baltimore and Pittsburgh, that's going to be your national game for sure. The Niners are at the Hawks. That's your Sunday night game, of course, and that ought to be. And then your New England-Buffalo game on Monday night. Those 3 games, the last 3 games of Week 13 in the prime time slots, good job, NFL. You did good. The Panthers, the Browns, the Packers, and the Titans have byes in the maybe lucky Week 13 for them. Week 14 starts at Pittsburgh and Minnesota on Thursday night, and then your 1:00 games for Sunday are Dallas and Washington, San Francisco and Cincy, Jacksonville and Tennessee, Seattle and Houston. The Raiders are at Kansas City. New Orleans are at the Jets. Atlanta at Carolina. Baltimore and Cleveland. The Giants at the Chargers for a 4:00 game, local time on Fox. Denver playing at home against Detroit. Your 4:25 games are Buffalo at Tampa Bay. Oh, there's only one 4:25 game. That's weird. What happened? That Baltimore-Cleveland game should be in a primetime slot. No? Okay, fine. I digress. Chicago and Green Bay, of course, will get the... That makes sense for them to get Sunday night. They always get Sunday night, those two. And then the Rams are at Arizona for the Monday night game. And you get 4 teams on a bye. That's Indy, Miami, New England, and Philly. So Week 15 goes as follows. Good game on Thursday night. Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes. Oh, that's going to be a fun game Thursday night on Fox on the 16th of December. Dallas and the Giants. A 1:00 game for them on Week 15. They don't play in the last week of the season for once, which is a little bit weird. Houston and Jacksonville also get a 1:00 game Eastern Time. Tennessee and Pittsburgh. That might be a good game if Pittsburgh can hold their own this year. Green Bay, Baltimore, Arizona, Detroit. Your 4:00 games. There's a lot of 4:00 games in this Week 15 slot. Cincy and Denver, Atlanta and San Francisco, Seattle and Los Angeles Rams. Those are your 3 games in Week 15. And then New Orleans and Tampa Bay gets a Sunday night game. Minnesota and Chicago gets the Monday night game. Then there's games that haven't been scheduled yet for Week 15. Don't ask why, but I don't make the schedule. Jets at Miami, Washington at Philly, Vegas at Cleveland, Carolina and Buffalo, and New England, Indianapolis. I think those might be flex games, so you might get an extra 4:25 game somewhere in there. So that's probably why. So Week 16. So Week 16 is a little weird because this is also Christmas weekend, so the schedule gets a little screwy here. San Francisco and Tennessee's your Thursday night game. That's an interesting matchup. If San Francisco can stay healthy, I think that team's going to be a decent team to get into the playoffs and make a run. Tennessee's always dangerous with Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill out there. And then you have Christmas games. You have 2. Cleveland and Green Bay. That's going to be a fun game if Rodgers stays in Green Bay. And then Indianapolis at Arizona. Yeah, why not? 8:15 on Saturday night, Christmas night. Let's have some football fun on Christmas, eh? And then Christmas day after, on the second day of Christmas, we have the Giants and the Eagles. Hey, look, the Giants and the Eagles playing each other the day after a holiday. Rams and the Minnesota Vikings play each other at 1:00 on Sunday. You also have the Patriots at home against the Bills, Tampa Bay and Carolina, Jacksonville and the Jets. Oh, that's going to be fun watching the first 2 picks go against each other. That will be a fun game. Detroit, Atlanta, Chargers and Houston, Baltimore and Cincinnati, and then your 4:00 games with Chicago and Seattle, Pittsburgh and Kansas City, Denver and the Vegas Raiders. I think that Denver-Vegas Raiders game might actually get more attention than you would think at this point of the year, but we'll see. Washington and Dallas will be your Sunday night game, of course. And your Monday night game for Week 16 is Miami and New Orleans, which I think Miami will probably beat them up pretty good. So Week 17 is Sunday on the 2nd of January, 2022, man. That's a long time from now, right? You get the Washington football team hosting the Philadelphia Eagles to start. All 1:00 games for the most part on Sunday. Carolina, New Orleans, Tampa Bay, the Jets, Miami, Tennessee, Jacksonville, New England, Vegas and Indianapolis, Kansas City, Cincinnati. The Giants are are on the road in Chicago, Atlanta and Buffalo, Arizona, Dallas, and in your 4 o'clock games are Houston, San Francisco, Denver, and the Chargers. Your 4:25 games, the Rams at Baltimore, interesting matchup. Detroit and Seattle, ugh, yikes. Minnesota and Green Bay is your Sunday night game. Of course, Green Bay gets another one. And then, obviously, it should be Cleveland and Pittsburgh in a primetime slot, and they get the Monday night game on the 3rd of January after New Year's. And then Week 18 is Dallas and Philly, Green Bay, Detroit, Indianapolis, Jacksonville, Washington, the Giants, Chicago and Minnesota, Carolina, Tampa, New England and Miami, New Orleans and Atlanta, Tennessee and Houston, Pittsburgh and Baltimore, the Jets and Buffalo, and Cincinnati, Cleveland, all 1 o'clock games because it's the last week of the season, so that's how they do it. And your West Coast games will be the Chargers and the Raiders, San Francisco at the Rams, Kansas City at Denver, and Seattle and Arizona. So it's an interesting last week of the season. No primetime games I've noticed thus far. They might flex a game. That's very possible. Week 18, if there's a divisional game that, decides a division, not like last year when the Washington football team and the Philadelphia Eagles played each other. Oh, that was bad. Oh, haven't Hajjada from that. They don't want to have that happen again. So right now, everybody's scheduled for what they are. That most likely will change. So this is just as it is right now. It's most likely going to change. So your strength of schedule, because this is something that I saw. So we're going to start from 32, go to 1. I know this video is run a little bit long, but stick with me here. This is going by ProFootballNetwork.com. This is what they had by their schedule, team-by-team schedules ranked. So the Niners had the easiest schedule at 32 overall. The Cowboys at 31. Tampa Bay and Cleveland tied for 29. So notice that you have 2 of the top. At least these 4 teams have a decent chance. You'll see it. The next screen will have the win totals, the over-under win total where they're at. The Broncos are 28. Eagles and Panthers are 26. Jacksonville's 25th. The LA should be San Diego Chargers 24th. The Jets are 23rd. Dolphins and Bills tied at 21. That doesn't help either of them their causes. Packers are 19th with Atlanta. Colts are 18th. The Tennessee Titans are 16th. With the Seahawks. There's 2 spots for 14 in Minnesota and Kansas City. Baltimore 13. The Giants are 11th, tied with New England. That's the last thing the Giants needed was a difficult schedule, and just the way that it played out for them. Yikes. New England too. I mean, New England gets a lot less flack than the Giants do with all those rings and whatever. Eli Manning's still 2-0. Rams are 9th overall with the Detroit Lions with their strength of schedule. Then it's Washington with New Orleans, tied for 7th. The Bears, the Bengals, the Cardinals, the Raiders, the Steelers, and the Texans. Note the top 5 teams. I don't even say the top maybe 7 teams, with the exception for Washington. Those teams are going to have a very hard time making the playoffs. I think the Steelers out of any of those teams might have the best shot at all. We'll say 8. Washington's going to be up there, but they're going to have a lot of difficult. They have 2 teams in the same division that are in the bottom 6 in strength of schedule. So that will definitely not help them at all. Especially that they were a first place team in that Week 17 game kind of messes with everything now. So comparing those to your strength of schedule, the current win odds, and I didn't put these in order. I put these in order by how they had the strength of schedule. So the Houston Texans, I believe, have the lowest win total on the board at 4.5. This is going by DraftKings. Note that the Packers, if you look in the middle of the screen, right there, there's my arrow, right there. I have a question mark. So, and I'll go through, you kind of get the gist of where everybody's at. So the Packers with the question mark, that's because of the rumors based off of Aaron Rodgers at the draft. So the books have not been able to place odds on the Packers yet. So when the Packers odds get put in, that will definitely change. I'll probably make another video about that at some point. Not now. It's still a little early. When we get closer to the season, this is definitely going to change. But obviously, like I said, the Texans are the lowest at 4.5. The Lions are at 5. And that's just because the Texans have a very, very different. They had the worst schedule out of anybody. I mean, the Steelers have an 8.5 win chance. You know what I mean? So that's not bad. The Raiders, I think, are a little high at 7. I don't think they're going to be as good as that. I don't think the Bengals are making 6. I don't think New Orleans is making 9. I think that 9 is really high for New Orleans. I think that's a little overrated. Then again, the division's a little weak, but I don't see them making 9. The Lions I can see with 5 wins. The Rams at 10.5, 10, 11. That's not bad. New England's a little higher than last year at 9. The Giants I think are a little low at 7. I think they could be a 500 team if they get the right breaks. The Chiefs are at 12.5. Baltimore's at 10.5. You get a lot of the same teams that kind of come across. So, I mean, it's not like you don't have it. There's, as it always is in the NFL, there's a lot of parity in the NFL. So I think a lot of these teams win totals like the Cowboys at 9.5. That's a little, in my opinion, a little high. I think Washington's the team to beat in that division still. But the NFC East is always so anything can happen. So, but Green Bay getting that question mark throws everybody else's numbers off. So when Green Bay gets those odds back at some point, I might make a video when those odds come up. If they come up sooner than later. If not, I'll post a new current win total odd coming up soon. But the thing about that is that they still have division winner odds up here. And now I grouped this by division. I did not group this by like win totals or whatever. So the Packers are still the favorite to win the division at this point. So that's not a bad thing to see. Minnesota and Chicago are not too far behind. So that division is still somewhat up for grabs. Same with the NFC East. The Cowboys had the best odds with their 9.5 win total. But I think that's anybody's division between these 4. So just be wary of that. In the NFC West, it's the Rams in the lead, or actually they are tied with San Francisco at a plus 180 odds to make it in. Seahawks are not too far behind, neither are the Cardinals. The NFC is very wide open, except for probably, I would think Detroit and Carolina and Atlanta have like the least chance to get in. I still think that New Orleans, I don't think, they might make a wild card, but they're definitely not going to win the division. It would take a lot for them to win the division. Tampa Bay still got pretty much most of their team from last year. The AFC is a little different. The AFC is a little bit more, I guess it depends on the division. You know who your contenders are. So Kansas City is up there. Denver's kind of there. So is the Chargers. But I just think that's Kansas City's division to lose. Buffalo and Miami and the Patriots, they're all pretty close together, but I still think that's Buffalo's division to lose. The AFC North is that everybody but the Bengals are given chances to. I mean, if you want to put down like a $1 bet on the Bengals and they win the division, you're going to get a nice payout with those odds. Same with the Texans, but I don't think the Texans have a shot. I think they're no. The AFC South, though, that's interesting seeing that the Colts have the best shot over the Titans right now. I mean, the Titans have a lot of unproven things. They lost a couple wide receivers in this offseason, so let's see what happens. But those are your current division winner odds. We'll throw in some current conference winner odds. Now, I took all the lower odds out. Anything over plus 2,000, those got axed. So, in the NFC, it looks like Green Bay's still the favorite with Aaron Rodgers. Well, actually, I take that back. Tampa Bay is still the favorite in the NFC with plus 300. I just took it from the division winner, or the division tops. And put them together. So it's in somewhat of an order, not too much. Kansas City obviously still got the best odds to win the AFC, although I think Buffalo's really going to give them the run for their money. So don't count out the Bills, don't count out the Ravens, don't count out the Browns. I think those 4 teams are going to dominate the AFC this year. I think the Browns and the Ravens are going to go back and forth. That's going to be a fun division to watch. Pittsburgh's never out of it. You see, they got the plus 1,800 odds for being a conference winner. So let's see if that plays out. You never know. And then your current Super Bowl winner odds right now, it's Green Bay, the Rams, over 1,000. I think out of anybody right now, if you look at it, it's still the Kansas City Chiefs with the best odds to win and Tampa Bay. So your 2 Super Bowl teams from last year, they didn't really do too much to make their team worse. They made their team better by Tampa Bay pretty much retaining everybody and Kansas City getting offensive line help. So all the other teams are going to have to fight for it, like they always do. I mean, that's the thing you worry about in the NFL. You don't want to see too much parity, but you also don't want to see the same teams get in over and over again too, I guess, as a fan, because my team's not that great yet, maybe. I don't know. So, um, I mean, out of any of these teams that get in, I think Buffalo. I would love to see Buffalo get in. Um, when you go to college upstate for 4 years and you see how crazy those fans are, how devoted they've been over the years. I mean, they live and breathe Buffalo Bills, even the Sabres. Um, but it's all Buffalo Bills up there. You don't really see too many teams getting up there. Giants, not really. Pittsburgh, not really. There's a couple. It's Bills country up there, and they're as loyal and passionate as you can get, and they'll stick by that team, win or lose. So, and if they can come away with a championship for that city, man, with how bad the Sabres are these days, that would be great to see. So, but those are the odds. So, we finally made it. Almost an hour in. If you've stuck around to the end, God bless you. If not, that's okay too. Going to get better at this as we go along. So, if you haven't hit like and subscribe, go ahead. If you have any comments, please leave them down below. I'm looking for suggestions for videos. Just get my feet wet. We're going to get better with this. Just doing this for fun. That's really what it comes down to. But thank you for watching. Tomorrow, or later on tonight, it's 1 o'clock my time at this point. I'm going to go over the NHL. I'm going to go over the final standings and power rankings. Might throw in a preview for a playoff series or two in there tomorrow as well. Depends on the timing of everything and how much I can get done tomorrow, getting that all together. It's been kind of hectic this week. So, but if you stuck around for almost a whole hour, God bless you. I definitely couldn't. I definitely could do it. Not everybody's as lucky. But thank you for watching. See you next time. And keep classy.